Right. So it's around 1 o'clock in the morning right now. So 1 a.m. And I just can't sleep really. It's 1:30 actually, I've just realised, I've just checked. I've got a lecture at 10 o'clock in the morning on what I think is Heraclitus, to do with being and becoming. So Heraclitus saw the world in a constant state of becoming, as opposed to being, or at least that's what I think. I've had to read a little bit on Heraclitus, and his work is very strange. It's quite hard to understand because it's basically just made up of like fragments. And I don't know whether that means fragments as in fragments which remain from an entirety of his text, or I don't think it is that. It's definitely that. Or if he actually wrote in fragments also, which I also think he did. And by that I mean he wrote like small paragraphs or sentences, which were very obscure and ambiguous in the way that they could be interpreted. And that's what he intended, basically. And in this way he's sort of similar to Nietzsche, and I think Nietzsche actually was influenced by Heraclitus in some ways. I don't know exactly how. Turns out I don't actually know a lot. But I want to know more. So, Heraclitus said something really weird. I don't even know if I want to talk about Heraclitus. I don't know what I want to talk about at all. Maybe it's probably going to be better if I just talk about this in my own way, because I have my own way of talking about things, and that isn't necessarily the standard way, and that's fine. It can be a bit different, can't it? I don't know. So let's talk about epistemology. Epistemology being the study of knowledge. Knowledge about all things. Knowledge about ontology, which is being. Ontology being the study of being. But being. What is being? How can we know what exists? Which would be a metaphysical question, which would encompass both epistemology and ontology. There's all these like weird questions, and they all somehow tie in together. But I don't think we can ever truly know the entirety of the whole. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think we can ever understand the whole world. I feel like we can understand parts of it, but then in us only understanding parts of it, we're not understanding the whole ever. Meaning we're very probably wrong about a lot of things. We could say focusing on a specific discipline and say I want to know a lot, or maybe even everything about this specific discipline, but then that specific discipline would break down into multiple other disciplines. And ultimately we couldn't know everything about that one thing. What is knowledge? Do we know our experience of the world? I don't know. Is it a case that we just don't know? And if that is the case, then, well, I guess it doesn't necessarily logically follow that we have to give up. If life's about a pursuit of truth, and truth is something we are unable to attain, then we should just give up on life. Okay, let's have a look at this argument. Either life isn't about a pursuit of truth, or it is about a pursuit of truth. Life is about a pursuit of truth. If life is about a pursuit of truth, then we have to Okay, so then from that we would have to say, can we attain truth? Yes. Great, life is sorted. However, there is no evidence that we can attain truth. However, I would say there is a lot of evidence that says that we can't attain truth. And by truth, I mean absolute truth, absolute knowledge about everything. I know I'm perhaps conflating knowledge and truth as being one, when perhaps they're not one. But however, knowledge and truth are in some ways the same thing. However, truth, I feel like, could exist outside of knowledge, but knowledge can't exist outside of truth. Because in order to have knowledge about something, we have to have knowledge of a true existence. Because if we have knowledge of something which isn't true, then is it really knowledge? For example, if I was to say, I know my water bottle is green, okay? But it turned out the water bottle was in actual fact blue. I wouldn't say that I had knowledge. I might say that I knew that, but ultimately it wasn't knowledge because it was referring to a false reality. And knowledge can't refer to a false reality, because then it's not knowledge. And do I believe that? I think I believe that. What the hell does that mean? So, right, we're pursuing truth. Okay, there's a little bit of knowledge, so we can know a little bit, I get that. But presumably we don't want there to be a limit on what we can know. Perhaps we do, I don't know. Presumably we don't want there to be a limit on things that we can know. You know, what do I mean by knowledge? Truth, okay. Okay, is it justified true belief as knowledge? Justified true belief, what is justified true belief? It's holding a belief which is true, so truth being the reference to the external world, you know, almost the medium between the knower and the thing being known. So when the knower, no, the thing on the knower side is the knowledge. The truth is ultimately noumenal. I mean, I guess there could be phenomenological truths, perhaps, but ultimately they still refer to a noumenal reality. When the language that we use to express a statement about the world is true, so that's important, isn't it? Statements have to be prevalent within truth. When we speak of truth, we have to speak of it. Therefore, it's not substantial to say that knowledge is justified true belief, because there has to be something in there about the expression of it. And perhaps you could say that within belief it's almost implicit that there's some sort of language there. Can we have beliefs that aren't articulable, that we can't speak about? I don't know if articulable is a word. Can we have beliefs that we are unable to verbalise? And that's quite a big question, because we can. Debatably, this is debatably, say assume we can't speak of God's nature because of negative theology, because ultimately any form of language used to define God will be negating, then we can't necessarily speak of God, yet we can believe in him, and we can even have justified belief in him, and some would even say we can have justified true belief in him because he does exist as a noumenal entity in some sort of way. Okay. But that, right. But then that is just one perspective on the religion, right? Most people would say that you have to have some sort of representation of God, you have to say something about him, or you have to know something about it in order to say what he is not. So even if you say you can't say things about him, ultimately you still have a picture in your mind, perhaps not exactly of what he looks like, but of what he is, his being, the things that make God God. So you may say, I cannot say anything about God, because God is invisible, God is immutable, all of these things, which are negatives. That's really interesting, negatives. Because Heidegger says negative or negation or nothingness is a thing, in itself. It's a substance of sorts. And this is the substance of God. God is nothing that we can speak of, but he's something.